Make some noise for yourselves for being amazing and coming here, being a part of this incredible event.
Welcome back to the UPRAWR Podcast. I'm not Jack, as you can probably tell. I'm his much better looking, much smarter younger brother.
He's younger, but he's definitely more ugly.
Bit of a different one today, because we're talking about an event you did a couple of days ago, and it was the first arena show you've ever done. Is that right?
Yep.
Cool. Do you want to just give a brief overview of what the event was and like what was it for?
Yeah, so it was called 1000 Lights. It was to raise money for the UPRAWR Mental Health Foundation. And before we sort of get into the event, to give people context on why we needed to raise money, the UPRAWR Mental Health Foundation is a registered charity. It's completely separate to the UPRAWR clubs and the podcast and everything else we do. And we basically employ counsellors that are into alternative music. And we provide free counselling to the alternative scene. So the idea was to take counsellors that people can connect with, and those counsellors also go to things like Slam Dunk and Download Festival. They listen to all the same music. They've got tattoos and coloured hair and all that sort of thing. So when you turn up for counselling with us, if you're part of this scene, then you've got somebody that you can connect with. You know that you're not being judged. You don't have to feel like a weirdo. And it just makes the sort of whole process smoother. So obviously to do that requires a ton of money. It's really, really expensive.
Yep.
Raising money for the charities a lot harder than we ever thought it was going to be. And so we needed to come up with some big fundraising event to basically bring in a load of money to pay for the counselling. So that's where 1000 Lights came in. 1000 Lights basically is named after One More Light, which is Linkin Park's song and the name of the tour that Linkin Park played, or Chester played his last show on. So we got 1,000 musicians to all play together on the arena floor in the utility arena where Chester played his final show. We put a load of well-known players on stage along with the Linkin Park Experience, which is like the UK's, or Europe's really #1 Linkin Park tribute band, and everyone played to those, and it was just a massive celebration of Linkin Park, really.
So then that's for the UPRAWR Mental Health Charity, yeah?
Yeah, so every single penny that was earned went straight into the charity and will be used to pay for counselling.
Do you think that the alternative world kind of lacks anything specifically for them for the mental health?
Yeah, that's really why we set it up, because so just to again give people context of me getting into this, I knew absolutely nothing about mental health. Like, I'm fortunate that I've never struggled, but I've had a lot of friends and a lot of people that I've been close to that have.
I mean, there's a lot of people that come through the building that suffer with it. We obviously have the venue. There's a lot of people who work for us that are quite open about it.
Yeah, it's not something that's particularly hidden anymore, but it was something that I just knew nothing about. And then when we heard that Chester from Linkin Park had committed suicide, that's sort of like, it made it real to me. And I thought, okay, well, if someone at that level can't get help, how the can somebody that just works on our bar get help?
Yeah.
Like, he's a multi-millionaire, super successful. He's got access to the best doctors and counsellors on the planet, and he's not getting the help he needs. Like, if he's not getting the help he needs, then no one's getting the fucking help they need.
Got like what most people would consider the dream life, right? Yeah. So for that to also kind of come into play, where it's like you could be on cloud nine, right? Like, you could all the money in the world, incredibly famous, being a rock star, and it just doesn't translate to making you happy or filling whatever that issue is that you had.
I think if you're struggling, then it probably doesn't matter to a certain extent what else is going on.
Yeah.
Because
I think a lot of people think like, oh, you must be, I don't know, you must have gotten fired, or you've broke up with your girlfriend, and like all of these things, which like probably do play some part in it, but they can also be the other side of it, which is there isn't really a reason as to why it's happening.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think it's really easy to look at somebody that's doing well and think, oh, everything's going well, like everything's easy for them. But that really highlighted that that's not the case. And yeah, it was just like, if he's not getting the help he needs, then no one's getting the help they need. We're in a position where we can probably do something. And that's why it was like, okay, let's figure this out. So we took the studios and we were, okay, let's take a couple of our practice rooms, turn those into counselling suites. Automatically, then we've got somewhere cool for people to come and talk. Then it was just, how do we financially make this work?
So going back to Sunday, you did your first ever arena show then, and it was at the Birmingham Arena, it used to be called the NIA. What's it called now?
Utility Arena Birmingham.
Okay. Did you realise how big of a job it would be when you came up with the idea? Or actually, how did you come up with the idea?
Basically, I was looking for an idea. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I actually didn't want to do a gig. I didn't want to have bands involved at all, because obviously our day job is putting on music events, having bands come into the venue, and I didn't want it to be that people work with UPRAWR and see that we've got a charity and they think, oh fuck, now they're going to start asking us for favours, because that pisses everyone off.
Yeah.
So I actively didn't want to do a gig. So I was looking for like ideas and events. We talked about multiple different versions of completely different events. We talked a lot about doing a fucking emo dog walk.
Oh, actually, yeah, I do know. Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Which I still want to do. But
I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a cool idea. I think we could make it work. It would be a next summer thing now. But like, there were lots of different ideas that I was trying to come up with. And I basically went to this seminar that was about raising money for charity. The woman that was doing the seminar, obviously we spoke, and she was like, if I can come up with any ideas, I'll send them over. And then a few days later, she sent me an email that was linking me to when the Foo Fighters, it wasn't the Foo Fighters, it was like the Rocky 1000, which is this Italian dude.
It's pretty big.
Yeah. Like, so this Italian guy.
Massive YouTube presence and everything else.
Yeah, millions.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this Italian dude puts 1,000 musicians in a field, they play a Foo Fighters song, goes viral, and the Foo Fighters go and play in their town, and that was the point in doing it. And then he's done more. So she sends me this video being like, this is really cool, links into music, maybe you can figure something out. And I watched that video, and in the 3 minutes that it took to watch the video, I was just like, that's what we're fucking doing. Instantly from that moment, that 5 minutes, I started working on it.
Right.
And the initial idea wasn't what it ended up being. Yeah. The initial idea was like, I'm just going to fucking copy these. I'm going to find a fucking field. I'm going to get some people playing in it. And
so why didn't you do that?
Within the space of a week from getting that video, I had got in touch with several councils and parks to get prices and to figure out how it would work. Obviously, I've never done anything in an outdoor space or...
That's dealing with the council and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. It quickly went to being like, okay, let's do Hyde Park, because that gave us some grandeur. We started getting in quotes and prices. It was very expensive.
Yeah.
And then we sort of hit a full dead stop because we couldn't insure it.
Right.
And the issue was with a festival, it's quite easy to get insurance. It's a very common thing. Everyone knows what a festival is. Everyone understands what that is. Yep. And all the equipment's undercover because there's a stage. The problem for us that we were putting everyone's equipment in a field outside that wasn't going to be covered. So we couldn't get insurance because we were going to blow up everyone's amp if it rained, and it always rains.
Yeah, you know it fucking rains.
So we couldn't do that. So then it was like, okay, let's put in a big top, which is one of the big blue or red tents that festivals use. Hiring a big top's like £45,000.
Yeah. So it's just ridiculous. Like, it's just going to cost too much money.
Too much money. It was 45 grand for the big top. You have to hire them for a week because they've got to build it, which takes a couple of days, and they've got to take it down, which got a couple of days. Yeah. That means you're hiring the park for a week. It also means that you need to put in security overnight for a week. In London, in the rural parks, so like,
I mean, I imagine when police have to be involved.
That's a huge cost. So you actually have to get like the police. You can't.
So I'd imagine with council and that kind of stuff, it's police job. Not.
So you're spending a fortune on police as well as on security. So at that point, it was like, okay, we're not doing outside. Where can I find a hall that's big enough to hold 1,000 players?
Yeah.
So because we're in Birmingham, we looked at the NEC and one of their exhibition halls.
The NEC, is that the utility? No, that's a different thing.
Yep.
Okay.
So the NEC, for anyone that I guess isn't from Birmingham, then is you've got the arenas. You've got the utility arena, which is the arena like bang in the centre of the city. You've got Resorts World, which is the NEC arena.
Oh, so Resorts World is NEC?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But the NEC also encompasses all of the exhibition halls.
Right.
So if you go to like the clothes show or Grand Designs show, then that's within the NEC exhibition halls, not the utility arena. Not the Resorts World arena, which is the arena at the NEC. started discussing hiring that. And then because it was like, let's do this indoors, we were like, well, let's put in a stage. And then it was, okay, if we put in a stage, let's put in a band. And then we came up with the idea of being like, well, we know we want it to be centered around Linkin Park because the charity started because of Linkin Park. We have to play a Linkin Park song. At this point, it weren't just going to be a Linkin Park event. So we were like, well, what other bands can we get involved that would be really cool? And we want it to be positive. We don't want it to be a downer.
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, let's do a feeder song. Like, that'll be pretty upbeat. We spoke to Feeder. They, in principle, were up for coming and being a part of it. Whilst we were in the middle of talking about that, we were like, why don't we just float the idea with the NEC about actually having Resorts World? Because that would be incredible, but probably unlikely with the costs. I spoke to them. It was a guy called Alex who was fucking awesome. He was just mega helpful, and it was him that was like, well, why don't you look at the NIA, because the Utilis is where he played his last show.
What's the capacity difference from the NEC to Utilita Arena?
Utilita at full capacity is 16,000. That's not what we had.
Right.
The NEC, I might be wrong, like Resorts World, I think it's 14,000.
Which is crazy, because I would have just assumed that Resorts World was way bigger.
Resorts World has a bigger footprint when you take into account all the outside space.
Yeah, it's a much bigger area in general.
Yeah. But the actual capacity of people watching the band is bigger at the Utilita.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, like, we didn't approach for the Utilita because we just thought we couldn't afford it. So to give context, like, the rate card for Utilita is 70,000 a day.
It's crazy.
Which is a huge amount of money. Obviously, when you're a band that can sell 16,000 tickets, then
it's all relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, but we knew that we weren't going to sell 16,000.
How many tickets were you allowed to sell for? Obviously, you had 1,000 musicians on the floor, so the floor, 1,000 people, no more. How many tickets could you sell in the stands?
We started off low, which is why it kept selling out. Because so before we actually get to tickets, the reason it was able to work was because they did us an insane deal. So they literally knocked like just over 60% off.
Because of your charity.
Because it was a charity, because they wanted to support it.
Cool.
The Alex at the venue was just like, this is great. We should get behind this.
Yep.
Let me see what we can do. And he basically was just like, we're not going to be able to lose money, but we don't have to make anything on this.
Cool.
So that started then really a 2-month waiting period on getting a figure, because we basically went through every version of how we could reduce the cost with them. And the Utilita were brilliant. They worked with us as much as they could. But it was a slow process of getting like the higher ups that aren't in the venue to sign off on it.
Yeah, to get involved.
So it was December last year.
Wasn't it they have a health and safety bit of whatever, and they all had to agree it?
Yeah, so that come like...
Is that after?
That, yeah, okay. That's further down the line that created.
Because I thought that would have been one of the big reasons as to why that would happen or not happen, with them having to be signing off and all that stuff.
They had to sign off on everything. Initially, it was just a case of the arena saying, we want this event to work.
Okay.
We're going to do everything we can to make it work, which included the price.
Yep. Sure.
So it was December when I spoke to them and they said, let's make this work. It was February when they come through with the price. And I didn't do really anything in those 2 months because
You just didn't think it was going to happen.
I didn't think we'd get it low enough for us to be able to make it work. And then when they came back and it was literally like a 60% discount, maybe more, that's when I got the email and I was like, fuck.
Well, fuck. Now I have to do it. I've actually got to do it now.
Yeah, we can make this happen. But that completely changed everything, because at that point it was like, okay, this isn't just a bunch of people playing in a field. This is a full arena production.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, how do we take this idea now and we turn it into a show, something that people can come and watch?
Yep.
And that's when it became, let's not just have a band on stage that people are.
So you get the confirmation or what them saying. I don't know when you actually decide, like, you sign off on it or whatever. But so that's February, and then the event happens in August. Yeah. So it's what's that? 6 months.
6 months.
Okay. Which, is that enough time?
No. So usually people plan these over 18 months. Like, are you realistically going to be able to pull that in?
Yeah.
And they were just like, if you want to do it this year, do it this year. But if you want to do it next year, that makes a lot more sense.
I mean, why did you feel like you had to do it in August? Or is it just because you had your mindset and you're just like, let's fucking do it?
I had my mindset, why waste time
Sure.
if you don't have to?
Yeah, fair enough.
And the charity had no money.
Right.
Like, the charity literally
So you have to do something.
was scraping by with the very bare minimum, mostly from counsellors just volunteering. And I was just sort of sitting there thinking, if we can't do something now, the charity probably won't be here in 12 months.
Yeah. So it was make or break.
It felt like it was make or break. It seemed pointless to keep plugging in hundreds of hours of work into something that wasn't doing anything. The charity we were doing like 6 people a week with the counselling. So it's not nothing, like it's 6 people that wouldn't have had help.
That's 6 people you helped them.
But that's hardly setting the fucking world on fire.
Yeah.
And we had our group sessions that were doing anything between sort of 4 and 8 people a week with it changing.
Yeah.
So it was worth it ticking over, but I'm donating like literally hundreds of hours over the year with not much changing. And I just thought, this is the thing that's going to change it.
Yeah, you had to
if
do
we can
something.
make it work,
Yeah.
this is the thing I wanted to make work.
Something big.
So I just thought, fuck it.
I mean, did you realise how big of a job it was going to be when you came up with it?
Yes and no. I knew it'd be a huge amount of work. I knew that I wouldn't know.
I mean, yeah,
going to take.
there's a lot of stuff that you personally are just not going to have a clue about, right? Unless I'm wrong, I don't know. But stuff like production, I mean, did you have any idea how any of that worked on that scale? Even stuff like the big LED backdrop, or the fuck you call it.
So I've worked events and been around events that have all that.
What's the biggest event you've? I mean, have you put on? I mean, maybe Asylum, but have you done anything bigger than that?
Solely as my own thing, no.
Okay.
So as a absolute me putting it on.
And for reference, the venue we have, the Asylum venue, is 500 capacity.
Yeah. So yeah, for me putting on gigs, the biggest gig I've put on myself is here. The biggest club nights, I guess, have been like about 1,000 capacity, without it being something else. So I've been involved with festivals and running stages and booking things, putting on after parties and all that sort of stuff, but it's never been my event.
I mean, it's stuff like even a nightlight. Like when me and my dad arrived to kind of help out in the morning, stuff like seeing the nightliners with all the fucking gear, bringing all the lights in and stuff, and it's just like, that's when it's real, right? That's when
one of the most exciting things to me, which sounds fucking ridiculous, was when I booked the trucks.
Yeah.
Like getting the invoice for the truck.
Yeah.
And being like, okay,
That's
I'm doing an event that has 3 fucking trucks. That was cool. That was relatively early on as well. So no, I knew everything that needed to be done.
Yeah.
I didn't have the experience of actually doing all of it myself.
Yeah.
But I knew enough people.
Because I mean,
that I could turn to.
For the event, you're solely responsible, right? Like it's all on your shoulders, really.
Yeah, it was all on me.
And you were. It was a one-man operation, really. I know, like you had to get who did you get involved? Was it a production company, a lighting company?
Yeah. So, I guess before we get to that point, then, just so everyone understands how it works with the charity, is I got the price from the venue. I had a ballpark then figure of what the event was going to cost. I then put together a costings, so huge spreadsheet that you put in every single cost that you can think of that might come into play. That gives you a general figure for what the entire thing's going to work out at. Then I had to work out how we're going to cover those costs. So you put in ticket sales, donations, all that sort of stuff to see if it could break even. And we basically worked out that the event could just about scrape breaking even, but not make anything.
Yeah.
So then we had to figure out, okay, how are we going to actually
Usually
make
another way to make money.
So the other way to making money was, okay, let's say everyone that plays has to create a Just Giving. We had never done anything where we'd had any significant Just Giving or donations before, so we didn't really know what that was going to equate to. But again, I could just look at other charities and say, okay, when they do an event, what are they doing for their Just Giving? And we looked at 2 or 3 and we saw that they were doing incentives. The NSPCC did an incentive where if you raise £220, you got a free beanie.
I mean, I remember you telling me about this, and my response was, I can't believe that it's 220 quid to get a beanie. Like, I know it's for charity and you're raising money, but that seems high. Like, 220 quid is a lot of money. And I would have just assumed it's like, you know, base price is what you're going to kind of do. So when you said that, I was a bit like, I didn't realise people are actually going to donate as much as...
I thought it seemed high, but I also thought the NSPCC are a wildly experienced...
Yeah, no, I didn't doubt the fact that that's true. I just thought, wow, like 200, you've got to raise 200 quid plus to get a beanie.
Yeah, pretty much everyone involved when I spoke to them at the start thought it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, there's not many people that really supported the idea.
Yeah.
There were people that were like, I'll go along with it if you want to do it.
But I think that's completely fair. Like, I think it's a fair thing for people to be like, you've got 0 experience in this. I mean, it's more of a testament to fair play. You did it and you've proved all these people wrong. But I think it's fair for people to be like, you've got 0 experience in this. You're putting on an arena show. There's a lot of money involved. You're a one-man operation. You don't really have a team with you doing this. There's no context for... You know, it's like, here's a YouTube video of 1,000 people playing. I'm just going to do that. It's like, okay, well, good luck with that. So I think that's a fair. I think it's a fair comment. I mean, one of the things I thought early on was you thought it would be relatively easy. Maybe this is going ahead a bit. I don't know, but you thought it would be relatively easy to get 1,000 people on the floor.
Yeah, fuck was I wrong?
And I was like, I think you're going to struggle with that. Now, in defence, I never thought you'd sell as many audience tickets as you did, so I was wrong on that, because we'll go into that, you sold a lot more. But yeah, for the people on the floor, I think you underestimated that being a bit of a big deal.
That was the biggest underestimation. There was 2 things where I was flat wrong. One was how easy it would be to get people to participate.
Yep.
And 2 was sponsorship.
Yep.
I thought people would want to sponsor us. They didn't.
I mean, I'm pretty shocked that they didn't, but I guess, I don't know, maybe does it come to the fact that you hadn't done it before? There was no reference for it?
I think it was partly that, partly that we were a completely unknown entity. And really, when we started off, we weren't talking about very many people.
Yeah.
So it did develop and it did sell more. I think next year we probably would be able to look at sponsorship if we did another event.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll do it a lot easier.
That was something where I just fell flat on my face. Fortunately, we were able to compensate with tickets.
Yeah.
But yeah, so...
Because was the sponsorship in your original plan of, I don't know what you call it, but the profit sheet or whatever the fuck you call it, was the sponsors a big part of that?
Huge part of it.
Right. So you were relying on the sponsors?
Massively, we were relying on sponsors at the start. So I put together this costing sheet. The sponsors made up a big part of how we were going to pay for it. And then I had to go to the board of trustees for the charity and get them to approve it. So again, to give people context in what the board is. So I founded the charity and was a member of the board of trustees. When you go in for grants, the people that provide the grants don't like having 2 people with the same last name, basically.
Right.
And our dad is on the board of trustees.
Right. Yeah, because it's, obviously.
So obviously,
conflict.
When I set up the charity, it was me on my own. I didn't realise I needed a board of trustees. I didn't know anything about charity. So it took us well over a year to get the charity approved by the Charity Commission, because the 2 things they didn't like was I didn't know how a charity was run, and I didn't know anything about mental health, which were the 2 things that you needed to know to set this fucking
probably
thing
start
up.
with those 2.
Yeah. So, but I was just like, well, how hard can it fucking be? I learned how to run a business. I can learn how to run a charity. And I don't need to know anything about mental health, because I'm not going to talk to anyone myself. Like, I'm just going to employ counsellors. Like, all I need to know is, which is the same as every other industry, is what are the qualifications that you need and what is the experience that you've got. So for me, it was just like, well, we're going to get qualified counsellors with a lot of experience. that's the same. And I used this analogy when I was arguing with the Charity Commission. Was like, Richard Branson's not a pilot. He just found out what qualifications a pilot needs, and then he gave people with those qualifications a job flying the plane. And I was like, I'm not going to go and counsel anyone. I'm just going to get some counsellors that have great qualifications and great experience, and I'm going to stick them in a room with people that need help. When we then got the Charity Commission to approve it, we had to put a board of trustees together, and the board of trustees needs to be made up of people that have experience in different areas that the charity is going to need. So we've got a guy that was on multiple of our boards for the NHS. He sat on the NHS for Wolverhampton for various things, for Dudley for various things, for like cancer and mental health. It's like super experienced in that aspect of it. We also have our chairman of the board, which is Tom Ross, that sits on the board of trustees, and he's also, I think, the chairman for Help Harry Help Others, which is another cancer charity. So we made the board up of people that were experienced in different areas within a charity. And then for me to be CEO of it, even though it's voluntarily, it looked bad with me having the same as my dad. So I came off as a trustee. So technically I've got no ownership at all of the charity. I have no real control because I have to have everything approved from the board of trustees. Yeah. I'm only allowed to approve something up to the value of £700. Okay. So there's a big disparity between the 130,000.
So basically you had to get all these people to sign off on this event.
Yeah, on everything. So
and what was their reaction to it? You just sat them all down and
I sat them down. I went through the idea. We did that in one trustees meeting, and I told them I'd come back to them in the next one with a full plan of costs, which is what we did. And they basically said, what's the risk? How far can you get without us losing money?
Yep.
Take it to that point, and then we'll reassess and we'll approve after that if we move forward. So that's what we did.
Where did the money come from?
So we got a £30,000 grant from the Arts Council, and then everything else was ticket sales.
Okay.
You don't get the ticket sales until after the event.
Yep.
So there was a cash flow problem because we needed to pay a lot of deposits and a lot of staff and things like that up front.
So how did you get around it?
That is where the Just Giving came in.
Oh, okay.
So when people donate to Just Giving moves that onto the charity at the end of every week.
Oh, really?
So you get a weekly donation from Just Giving.
Oh, okay.
So the Just Giving was basically the cash flow to pay for the event. And as the ticket sales came in...
So I would have thought that would have happened at the end of the campaign, because what happens if for any reason you need to refund?
Don't think you
Sounds like a nightmare.
I think so. That's where it's different. So like tickets you can't get until... we still don't have the ticket money. You don't get the ticket money from anything for any event until
sure.
at best a few days after the event.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah, in case the event gets cancelled.
Yeah. You haven't spent the money already.
Yeah. So anyone that buys a ticket to something and the event's postponed, and you think that their company is like sitting on your money to make interest, the company's not got the money. Like the ticket company holds the money, ticket factory holds the money. So as the money, we could see the ticket sales, we'd get reports. So we could see how much money was going in to that holding account. Yep. So as the money came into that holding account, that meant that we were like, okay, we know that we're going to get reimbursed that out of the ticket sales, so we can use that, the Just Giving money that's coming in as the cash flow whilst we're waiting.
Yep.
So that's how we cash flowed it. So if it wasn't for the Just Giving money and the donations, it wouldn't have ever happened. Yep. Like the people that donated to Just Giving are the reason the event happened.
A lot of money was raised. How much was it from Just Giving?
Just Giving, we're on £106,000.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a crazy amount of money.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, awesome. Is that still going up now? Or has it ended? Or
the campaign's still live, so if people want to donate, then they can. Please do.
Are you going to take that down, or
we're going to leave it up for a while?
Because I don't know how Just Giving works, to be honest with you. So
the campaign at the moment is open-ended.
Right.
And the reason for that is because we're hoping, really, when this podcast comes out, we'll have all the finished videos of the event, of us putting the songs out.
And I think we will put some edits in this podcast if we have it. So we'll put some videos and that, so you can actually have reference for what we're on about.
Yeah, so if we've got them, they'll be here right now. But the hope is that the videos do reasonably well. That brings a second wave of attention, and people decide to donate.
Sure.
Because of seeing it. So that's why it's still open.
I just didn't know if there was if it works like a crowdfunding thing where there's a set date and then it's
totally depends.
I suppose it completely makes sense that it wouldn't because it's not the same thing.
It depends. You can put in an end date and you can leave it open. So Just Giving's pretty good. You have a lot of flexibility.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where it came. And then basically once we get the ticket sales, that goes back into it. That covers everything from the Just Giving, and effectively all the Just Giving money then is what we use into pay the counsellors.
Cool.
I costed it out at 110,000. It's ended up running out at about 126, 127,000, and I've still got a few invoices coming in. So I think
that's fairly accurate then.
I think by the time it's finished, I'm out by about 15,000, 16,000 pounds.
Right.
But I think given the jumping scale,
zero knowledge of the event, I think it's a pretty fair estimation.
Yeah, we were pretty close. Yeah, it's turned over $250,000.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Which is it's amazing. So it's completely transformed the charity.
Yeah.
Like the way we'll be able to run and the amount of people we'll be able to give counselling to over the next 12 months completely dwarfs anything that we've done up to now.
Yeah. So how much pressure did you feel?
Pressure was pretty intense because...
And you didn't share that pressure with anyone, did you?
No.
You are the person that...
No,
it's on your shoulders.
It's 100%. It was on me.
You only left yourself 6 months.
Yeah, so again, so people know with a charity, if a charity goes bust, the board of directors are held responsible. So they're liable for the money. So with this, because it was such a risk and it was me solely that wanted it to happen, I took that risk and just said, okay, it's on me.
Right.
If it goes bust.
But you're not on the board of directors?
No, so I had to agree to that separately.
Okay.
And I was just like, yeah, fuck it. I'll take the risk. And it all comes to me if it goes wrong. So it would have been me that personally went bust.
So you're just like, I'm not going to think about that.
Yeah. That would have probably dragged the club down with it.
Well, so if it, what realistically, how much would you be looking at if it just didn't go the way you wanted, it went bump? How much would you be responsible for?
So the full amount that wasn't already paid. So day one,
which is what, the hire of the venue or what?
So it's like the hire of the venue, so when you hire an arena or a stadium or something like that, you don't get anything with it. There's no PA.
Yeah.
There's no sound system. There's no lights.
Yeah.
So you've just got an empty room with seats. So we had to book a PA company to put in all the PA. We had to book a lighting company to put in all the lights. We had to put in all the staff, all the insurance, everything that goes with it. So obviously these costs mount as you get close to it because you don't confirm things until you need to. Things like the catering cost us £3,500.
Yep.
Obviously I didn't.
Which you sorted out, 2 days before the event?
2 days before it, yeah. That's something so that no one knows that until this second.
Yeah.
We were telling everyone that there was catering.
Nice.
And we basically went through 20 different catering companies telling us that they couldn't do it.
Well, why? What can they do? For the price or?
No, it was too short notice. So we were in the middle.
When did you start contacting catering?
About 10 weeks out.
So how much leeway do they need?
Because of the time of year that we were in, they would have probably had
festival season?
Festival season. So all these festivals are booked a year, 18 months in advance. So the catering companies are booked 6 months to a year in advance. Yeah. So us going in and saying, oh, it's in 2 months, it's in a month, it's in 3 weeks, it's in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we literally got
and everyone that says no, it suddenly becomes a short period of time.
So it was Thursday that we actually got it confirmed.
Nice.
So it was Thursday that they agreed to do it and sent us the quote, and it was Friday that we approved the quote.
Yeah.
So if they hadn't have done that on the Friday, then on Saturday I'd have literally been trying to make sandwiches for the next day.
Yeah. Which would have been disaster.
It would have been bad. We cut it really close with that. But catering so the catering was great. I didn't really eat much. But yeah, they did a great job. It was Skyline Catering, if anyone is interested or anyone needs a caterer, and they came in last minute. They were fucking brilliant. Yeah, so the amount that I was on the hook for was growing. because we were doing so badly on the sign-ups, for the majority of that 6 months, I was looking at being like 40 grand in the hole. So there was like a really, I don't know what you'd call it, sobering conversation with Becky, who's my girlfriend who I've got the house with. And she like really seriously at one point was like, are we going to lose the house? And
It's funny, I'm laughing because it sounds so dramatic.
but it was, you know,
But I suppose it's like legit what was.
she genuinely was sitting there being like, are we going to lose it?
So
We didn't buy it long ago.
It turned out well, but it could have just been the stupidest idea you've ever done.
Until 6 weeks before the event,
What's the stupidest idea you've ever done?
it was the stupidest thing. We were losing about £60,000.
Yeah. So a lot of that was to do with. So you assumed getting 1,000 musicians on the floor would be quite easy. You thought people would want to sign up to play the arena.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these people will just be hobbyists.
So the reason I thought it would be easy is because we've got the studios and because we've got access to hundreds of bands. And I thought, tell these people that they get to come and play at the arena. They're playing a band songs that they love. It's a really fucking cool thing. I want to do it. And I haven't been in a band for years, since I was in college. When I was in that college band, every single person in my band would have done it.
Yeah.
We'd have seen it instant. We would have signed up. All my friends were in bands. They would have all done it. It would have just been a no-brainer. So I thought everyone that was in a band is going to want to do this. It turned out to be the absolute opposite.
Well, I think the difference is you had to pay 20 quid to get like a floor ticket, right?
Yeah.
So you had to pay to be on the floor.
Yeah.
Do you think that was why there was a bit of a barrier?
No.
Yeah.
Like,
So
I know,
why did you think that?
so a lot of people have said to me, like, oh, you're charging people 20 quid.
I don't think that's wrong, by the way.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I think instead of just being like 1,000 people are going to play, it's 1,000 people are going to have to pay 20 quid and then do the just giving or whatever to play, which obviously sets a barrier in place.
It sets a barrier, but to me, and I know there's going to be people that are like, oh, if you can afford 20 quid, I can't. If people want to do something, they find the money.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with
Like, this is a show at an arena.
Sure.
Your average arena show is going to set you back £80-90 a ticket. So if people want to spend the money, they find a way to spend the money. Like, people will spend more than £20 on a round of drinks when they go to the bar.
Oh, yeah, I
And,
completely agree.
you know,
I just think is like, for me, was that the reason that?
So I think in the feed, we didn't get much feedback from bands as to why they wouldn't do it other than ego.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of bands that were just like, oh, well, I can't do that because like I should be on stage really. And I'm like, but you can't sell it at the Asylum too,
Yeah.
which is 100 people.
Yeah.
If you can't sell 100 tickets, if you can't sell 20 tickets, why would I put you on a stage that is for bands that sell 16,000?
Sure.
Like, to me, the disparity in ego doesn't make any sense. But
are these all touring bands, or
no, local
touring bands? But
local bands that want to be seen,
what you ended up with
to be
is
successful.
a lot of hobbyists, but
Yeah.
all varying ages and everything, and that's kind of the idea, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was never to pick bands that are touring or
No, the idea was it's local bands.
You want people who
local people
want to have fun.
that want to come and have fun. I thought all these bands that rehearsed in the studios and I don't mean this like taking the piss, but bands that play the Victoria, which is like, I don't know, 40 capacity or something.
Yeah.
Like, this is a really fucking cool thing for you to come and do.
Yeah, for sure.
But it turned out that most of those bands don't want to be seen.
Yeah, because you wasn't looking at these people for promotion, right? That's not what it was.
No, I just thought they would want to.
Right, it wasn't like, oh, you have to share this and you have to make a big deal about coming and playing. It's just, do you want to go play the fucking arena?
Yeah, and there was no minimum thing to raise on the Just Giving.
Yeah.
So it wasn't you have to raise
It was just set it up, because if you get anything's better than nothing.
It was like, if you raise a fucking pound, then
that's cool. Yeah.
That's cool.
Cool.
And we put in the 220 quid because we just copied the NSPCC
Yep.
on their incentive scheme.
Yeah.
So the entry to barrier was £20. Like, if you can afford a guitar and a drum kit, then you can probably save over 6 months £20. So I don't think that was the issue. I think it was just people didn't want to be seen to do a pay to play, which is why we ended up with 1,000 people that weren't in bands.
Yeah.
For the most part, obviously some
Yeah, for sure.
some bands were there, which is really fucking cool, and we really appreciate that. Most of the people there were on their own as a completely solo thing that had never played a gig before, which
Cool.
like
I mean,
that's sick.
yeah, that's what
Like,
you want.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those players, it was the first time they'd performed in front of people, so like
Yeah, which is crazy.
that's amazing. That takes balls, like fair play, like that's cool as fuck. Yeah, I thought we don't need to convince 1,000 people. We need to convince 250 people because they'll bring all their band members with them.
Yep.
I was wrong. That's
So
that's not
when you initially announced the event and you put this out, what are the numbers looking like? Not audience, just on the floor, just the actual musicians.
So on the first day, so we announced without tickets being on sale, and we told people. So we put it up on a Friday, and then could you hear my stomach then?
Yeah,
I'm really hungry. So yeah, we put it up on the Friday that on Monday tickets would go on sale, and we put 700 tickets for the audience on sale, which was the minimum seats we could open. So with the venue, it was basically like, I don't think anyone's going to come and watch.
Yeah.
What's-
I didn't believe people were going to come and watch.
Yeah.
But
So
I thought having 1,000 people all fucking making noise at the same time would sound fucking horrendous. I was wrong about that, and you can go into that. But
yeah, we'll come back to that because
Yeah.
I was wrong on that as well. Everyone was wrong on that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's the logical thing to think of.
it's,
Like,
I thought it was.
oh, you want
like
200
shit.
drummers drumming at the same time? Okay.
But yeah, so the minimum seats we could open, which was one lower block, was 700. So we put 700 audience on sale. We put 1,000 musicians on sale, and I think it went on sale at 9 a.m. At 10 past 9, I got a message saying the audience tickets aren't working, and I was like, fuck, something's not worked. I messaged the ticket factory, and they got back saying you've sold out.
Yep.
You need to put on more tickets. So I couldn't fucking believe that. That was
Crazy. 700 tickets sold in, it was like 5 minutes or something.
yeah, I think it was like 7 minutes.
Yeah, cool. So
And
you
I
just
thought-
sold out the asylum.
Yeah.
Sold out the asylum in 5 minutes.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, musician sales are going to be fucking wicked. You get the report every 24 hours. So other than that call where I spoke to them on the phone, they were like, no, you've sold out. I didn't know what the sales were looking like. So we were really excited for the next morning to see how many tickets had been sold. We'd sold 16.
16 musician tickets.
16
right, for the floor.
for the floor.
And that was did your stomach sink?
Yeah. We were like, okay, fuck. And at this point, it's still...
Because it also had a big reaction, really. Because I think well, obviously you'd sold 700 tickets, so it had done the rounds. Utility, or however you fucking say it, had sold. It posted about it, and it had had a really good reaction. So you just assume off the back of that.
Yeah. The post on Instagram was the most successful post we'd ever had at that point for the charity or the club. The announcement went really well. The musician sales just did not.
So did you put more audience tickets on straight away?
Yeah, so the
What did it jump to? Is it 1,000?
something I can't remember, but yeah, so
And that sold out pretty quickly again.
that sold out within another day.
Cool.
And then we went back, and it was so the venue were brilliant because they were so fucking patient with us. Because every single time we put more up, I just didn't think
Yeah.
anyone would want that. So I kept being like, I want the minimum that we can go with because I want the minimum security cost.
It's good because 700, to be honest, would have looked really shit.
Yeah, it would have sucked. And it got to 6 weeks out. And at 6 weeks out, I had already committed to everything. So 6 weeks from the event, and we just have to download, I think. And I'd committed to everything. And I was like quietly very, very stressed.
Yeah.
And it was Liam who does all of our club promotion, was just like, how's it going?
So how many had you sold at that point for the on the floor?
158.
158, and you need 1,000.
Yeah.
And you're 6 weeks out.
Yeah. And no one knew because I
Yeah.
kept it to myself how badly it was doing.
Yeah.
And Liam was just like, how are you not more stressed? And I was like, well,
Yeah.
I was like, I literally feel sick
Yeah.
100% of the time. Like at the moment, I'm going to go bust for 60k.
Yeah.
Liam was just like, okay, let's sit down and let's go through everything we can do. And the issue was we didn't have any money to pay any staff. So we sat down, we worked out a promo plan, and we started putting out more stuff. One of the issues, just to actually explain why it was moving so slow, was we were trying to get the bands to sign off.
Right, these are the bands on stage.
On stage.
So actually, before we go into that, who did you have on stage?
So there was members from Bullet for Valentine, The Blackout, As December Falls. There was loads. Like we had like 20 bands, but it took, in normal terms, very quick. But in our finite timeline, we were moving much, much faster than is typical. So getting the bands to sign off on the poster was quite difficult because they already had commitments for festivals and tours and album launches. And when they announce these things, that's contracted.
Yeah, I mean, I think people might not realise as well is obviously it is just pressing tweet or pressing play on, pressing share on Facebook or whatever. But obviously, like, they have set times and days where they have to announce this stuff. Yeah. And you cannot post stuff around it because it will get buried. Yeah. And agents, managers, all that are very strict on. Yeah. You know don't saturate your page.
Yeah. Every band that we had to take part was also either playing Download, Redden and Leeds, Slam Dunk Festival, 2000 Trees. Like, they're all playing these other things, and they've all got contracted commitments for posts, and they're not allowed to put stuff up around them. Yeah. So no one was being awkward, but it was quite difficult to find announcement dates that worked for all the bands to go on the poster that we could put out that everyone could share. Yep. And then there were people that we were talking to that were like, yeah, in theory, we want to do it. And then 6 weeks later, they'd be like, oh, no, we can't do it.
Pricks.
So it became quite difficult going backwards and forwards with like 20 bands trying to...
I mean, and do you think that's just, honestly, like a mistake on your end that you just didn't have enough time? Like in the future, if you've planned it out a lot further in advance, do you think that's just not really a factor then?
No, it won't be a factor. If I was to be like, okay, let's do the next one in 18 months, then I'd work on a normal time scale. Yeah. And all of this would be confirmed 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months in advance. So the dates that stuff's meant to be posted will be planned and we won't be delayed. The issue is I was going to people being like, we need to announce next week because we've only got a fucking couple months to promote it. So I was asking a lot. Yeah. And I knew that I was asking a lot, and I knew that I was when I went in with a 6-month thing. Yeah. But I also knew that we could pull it off. Yeah. If we just fucking dug our feet in and we sort of went for it.
So you sold 150-ish tickets. This is 6 weeks out. Yeah. You and Liam sit down. So what's the marketing thing look like?
And the reason we sort of sat down at this point is because it was 7 weeks out that we got our final announcement out. So it was like, that announcement's gone out. Now we can freely talk about this. Every band is on there. Every artist is confirmed. Like, now we can just fucking go for it. Yep. And so we put a few things out and they just bombed. Yeah. Which
are posters or?
Posts, just general content.
Because I do remember this actually, and we had a conversation about why the posters aren't getting. And my thoughts were that it was there was too much going on, and that it wasn't like it wasn't precise enough for someone to be like to just scroll past and be like, this is what the event is. Yeah. It's kind of just like you'd have no idea. There's a bunch of names everywhere. 1,000 lights. You really have to kind of...
it was really hard because people didn't understand what the event was. Yeah. So with all the bands being involved, it looks like a festival. Yep. It's not a festival. So it's like, well, do we take the bands off? But if we take the bands off, then it's got no credibility because the bands bring that credibility. So it's like, okay, keep the bands on. So then you have to explain what it is. Well, that requires more text. If it's got lots of text, it becomes messy. Also needs to say that all these people can sign up and take part themselves. Yeah. That's more text. And it needs to say that the audience can come and watch. So it was really hard to try and find a format where it was like...
I mean, I remember that was the part you were struggling with.
Yeah. So it's 7 weeks, it's announced, and everything's bombing, and all the posts suck, and no one gives a shit. And I'm sat there thinking I'm going to I'm going to go fucking bust.
Move back in with mum and dad.
Yeah, I'm selling the house and I'm moving back in with mum and dad. We're talking about what we can do, and we're like, let's just put out one of those shitty fucking images that you see, or that you used to see, drummer wanted.
I'll put up the image if, because I know exactly what you're on about, and I remember it blew up.
When I was like 14, and you'd go to Oasis Market.
It's basically you have a poster on the wall, and you take a number or whatever to
call the person.
Yeah.
This is how you found a band before.
I'll put it up.
And we just thought, okay, let's make one of those. It's really simple. It doesn't say anything.
It was you printed out and put it on the wall, didn't you?
Yeah,
so you took a picture of it on the wall.
Yeah. So it was the shittest version of a post that we could do.
Yeah.
But the reason we thought it could work, or we should do it, is because it would sit out of place on people's feeds. Like, it wasn't designed well.
Yeah.
It didn't look cool.
Whose idea was this?
I'm not really sure. I think it could have been Liam that said, let's do an old-fashioned one. And then I think it was me that was like, let's fucking print it out and take the picture. Because that...
Taking credit for it.
Yeah.
I'll ask Liam after.
But the sort of the thought behind it was, it just makes it not sit in your feed like a poster, and we want it to not appear like a poster for people to stop. So it said, drummer wanted, player shirt, the NIA. That was the whole thing.
Yep.
And it was just click for info. And we put that up, and overnight we sold 100 drummer tickets.
I mean, I think the next day it had 2,500 shares or something.
Yeah, it had like 800 likes, thousands of shares.
I mean, that was the big thing. It was people sharing it and commenting their friends. Like, it actually, the intended thing you wanted.
Yeah. Everything we'd been trying to get.
And that doubled your but those were all drummers.
So now you have drummer wanted. Yeah. So at this point now.
So now you've got too many drummers and nothing else.
There's 100 drummers. Drummers are sold out in a day. 6 weeks. I don't know what is this, 4 months late. Yeah. But drummers, overnight success, 4 months in the making. We had like a handful of everything else. So we did the same with the guitarists, and it went off.
Yeah, the guitar one did really well as well.
We sort of went back then to everything bombs and everything does shit.
Yep.
But it wasn't as shit as it was before.
Yep.
And
it'd been creeping up, right? So
it's creeping.
After the guitarist bit, you probably got what, 300? No?
Something like that.
Right.
And so we're 5 weeks out, and I'm losing 40 grand.
Yep.
And then we have another week where it doesn't really work. And then a tea shop posted the single one.
Okay. I didn't even know this.
Yeah, so there was some tea shop, I think.
What, in Birmingham, or?
I think it was in King's Heath.
King's Heath?
I'm not 100%. We should check, and we should...
Thanks.
So right now on the screen, the name of the tea shop's going to be coming up.
Yeah, thanks, I didn't lose my house.
So they posted it, and this isn't to criticise them, this is to just show the disparity in how well it went, but their average post on Facebook got 0 likes and 0 comments. It's a small local high street tea shop.
Yeah.
And I think in one night it got 10,000 shares.
Why did they share it?
They just shared it saying this looks like a great thing.
As in, they shared like your post, or they just posted it?
They shared no, they
must have posted it, no?
They posted the singers wanted picture. So again, we printed off a shit picture.
Yeah.
Stuck it on the toilet wall. Took a picture of that, posted. They took that and posted saying this looks like an amazing thing for mental health.
Yeah. And that just blew up.
And it got 10,000 shares.
Crazy,
in a night.
Yeah, you should definitely send like a fucking...
Yeah, we should send that. Yeah, we will.
I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to find that.
And the singers took off. And at that point, we had traction.
Yeah.
And then all the posts
and that's
started
what.
doing well.
So that's 4 weeks out or something.
So 4 weeks out. And then each week we get closer up until we're 2 weeks out. And at 2 weeks out, we break even.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not losing any fucking money.
Thank fuck for that. 2 weeks in. 2 weeks out.
2 weeks away from the event, and we're not losing money. And at this point, I'm just bullshitting everybody because I'm telling everyone how fucking great it's doing.
Yeah.
And then within the space of a week, it goes from we're making £1 to we're making 17,000,
Yeah.
18,000, 19,000.
Because obviously the influx of floor musicians isn't just for £20. It's the just giving that's coming with it, those musicians, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, as we just said, like the bass for a beanie was 220 quid.
Yeah.
So like with every person, potentially, there's a lot more.
There was money
that
coming in,
comes.
and it was drastically different. I mean, if you look at the fundraisers, I don't know how many's on there. It's like 600.
Yeah.
So straight away, you can see that we had 400 people that didn't even bother making one.
Yep.
Even though it was one of the conditions, they just didn't bother.
Well, name and shame all 400. Let's get it up.
And then of the 600 that did do it, there's probably 200 that didn't even raise a pound.
Yep.
Like literally not.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. The ones that did raise money
Raised a lot.
raised a lot.
Yep.
And we went in the space of a week from making 30,000 to 90,000.
Nice.
And then on the weekend of the event, it went up to making 130 grand
I mean, it's crazy money on it.
with a turnover of like about 256,000.
Yeah.
So turnover was over $250,000.
Yeah, which is bonkers. So that leads you up then to the event. So you've got past the that hurdle. So you've got past the point where it's gonna fucking make or break, and literally you're gonna be financially in ruin because of it, and the charity would go bump. So that all goes well. So you've sold the tickets. How many audience tickets have you sold at this point?
By the time we open, over 3,500.
Right. And that's because they kept opening. Why did you keep opening up the store? I don't know what you call them, the stores or whatever.
So basically, as they sold, we opened more seats. Again, the arena were just brilliant. They let us open.
And the only reason you wasn't doing this before is because you just didn't think people would want to watch, or you didn't think you'd sell as many.
We didn't think we'd sell that many, and we were trying to keep things minimal. So the way you keep things minimal is you don't do much.
Yeah, sure.
So less security, less cost, less PA.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was there any reason as to, so for example, so obviously you've got the stage at the back, and you had big black curtains covering half of the room. If you had sold way more tickets and those curtains were pulled back and you had more people there, would the sound not have just been awful?
Yes.
Because it would have just went around the whole venue.
So the reason we curtained off sort of as much as we could was, one, that helps deaden the sound, but two, it reduces the amount of PA you need to put in. So when we're talking about the PA that we need to put in, there are no speakers in the room. You bring in all of the speakers, all of the amps that power those speakers, all of the equipment, and the bigger the space, the more of the equipment there is. And also you're talking about throw. So when you have your speaker here, it doesn't throw sound all around it. It throws it out at an angle. So you have like a triangle shape that starts small and it gets bigger. But as it's getting bigger, all this space here isn't being hit. So then you have to put in more speakers here that point out further. And obviously the more speakers you put in, the more cost there is.
Sure.
Because there's more speakers, there's more amps, there's more staff.
Yep.
Like there's more rigging points, you're hanging them from the ceiling. Everything you
Just,
do.
the production
You need more forklifts to get it up there. Like you need more cherry pickers. Like there's just more of everything. There's more trucks to deliver it.
It's cool doing an event where you need forklifts, isn't it?
Yeah. It was pretty cool, like radioing through, be like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. You walking around the day, your little radio. It's funny.
yeah. We closed off what we could to reduce the amount of PA.
Sure.
The PA we had an incredible deal on. So it was a guy called Spencer that owns
that,
Trinity Live.
Is that the guy who looks like Sting?
No.
I think it's Sting. Who's that guy?
I think
it's Adrian.
Adrian was our production manager.
Adrian.
So, yeah, to give people a bit more of the idea of the team, because although it was me at the start, it didn't end up being me on my own.
Yeah.
So,
when I talk about you being a one-man team, what I mean is like responsibility-wise and the kind of, if the event's going to go ahead and all this stuff is solely you. Yeah. Obviously, you aren't putting everything yourself. Yeah, you aren't putting in the stage yourself and the lights and mapping all that out.
Yeah. So by the time the day happened, the core team, what I'd call the core team, was me, who's sort of like in charge of everything on my role in this is promoter, which means it's my event. There's then Adrian, who's the production manager. Adrian's responsible for everything. Sting is responsible for everything that happens to do with the stage. So,
and he was really good, wasn't
he was fucking.
Yeah, he was on it.
I couldn't have done it without him. Like, and genuinely.
Did you know him before?
No, he was introduced. So I guess we'll come back onto that. But so he's production manager. We had Spencer, who owned 22 Live, that was putting in the PA. Again, he was fantastic. We had AJ that owns DMX Productions, which put in all the visuals, put in the screen, put
giant
lights.
LED thing. Yeah.
We had Dave Piper that was the media manager. So he ran the media team, all the photographers, all the videographers he was in charge of. And also he created all the visuals that went on that screen. So DMX put the screen in and they ran it, but he created all the videos that ran on it. And then we had Liam, who became the marketing manager for it. And we had Lucy in the office that basically just did everything that I didn't have time to do. Effectively, like, Lucy was a massive help, and she donated a shit ton of time. Like, she came and worked in the office for free a lot. So without Lucy, people wouldn't have known what was going on at all. Like, they wouldn't have had replies online. They wouldn't have had replies to their emails.
You need to send out some cupcakes and stuff. Cookies.
Like, without Liam, like, no one would have ended up fucking taking part. So, like, there ended up being like 6 of us in the team. On the day, we had over 100 people working.
Yep.
So, like, Spencer and his team were incredible for the sound. Adrian brought in people that ran the stage, ran the floor. So on the day, the reason it went so well was because I was able to have so many fucking awesome people.
Is with Adrian, is that what he does for a day job? It's work in arenas and stuff.
I'm sure he'd be okay with me saying this. He's semi-retired.
Oh, okay.
So he manages...
Is that his job before? Or?
Yeah. He manages a band called Dr. Hook, and he still does that sort of day to day. And he's a production manager when he thinks an event sounds cool.
Cool. It's a good way to do it, really, to be honest.
So big arena and stadium events, he goes in and he's the production manager, so he makes sure they run on time and everyone knows where they need to be, and the trucks turn up at the right time and park in the right place, the stage gets put in the right location, the risers turn up.
Which is like a very important and also hard job. You're in charge of a lot of people.
Yeah. So Adrian was absolutely fantastic for me because although I had the big picture and I knew what I wanted it to look like overall, he's the
could actually implement it.
He's the guy that put together the schedule to like a minute by minute thing.
Yeah.
I went to him and said,
I mean, it was literally like
the schedule
4 minutes past 8, 7 minutes past 8.
Yeah. And he was horrified when we got to the intermission and we were 3 minutes off. We were 3 minutes early.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, man. We're not running late. He was like, we're 3 minutes off schedule.
Yeah. I suppose you have to be, though, don't you?
Like, he was fucking brilliant, man. And like, for me, like, I booked the risers.
Does he design the floor plan?
No, I did that.
Okay.
I did it with him and he had input for sure. I came up with pretty much what I wanted it to look like. He sat down with me and was like, okay, let's make sure this works. Then we sent it to the arena. A guy called Chris Carpenter, that was the event manager for us at the arena on their behalf, then took it and turned it into CAD drawings. So he actually literally the CAD team couldn't figure out what we actually wanted. So he got it printed off and sat and drew it with markers and highlighters and sent it over to them for them to draw. So we knew it was going to be correct on the day.
So now we're at the day, right? So now it's all happening. What's the logistics like of getting 1,000 musicians on the floor and then making it not sound shit?
So we arrived at 7 a.m. That was our get-in. I got there and Adrian got there for about 6:30. And then 7 a.m. we come into the
I mean, is that a normal time for people to start loading it? No, not loading in, but people start arriving at arenas.
Yeah, it's not unusual. It depends what the show is and how much production they're putting in. But it wouldn't be unusual for not the band. The band wouldn't turn up. The band.
Yeah, I suppose it's to bring in the stage and all that stuff. I guess just obviously a bigger scale, you need a lot more time to.
Yeah, I mean, and you got to remember that although aspects of this were big compared to like a full-blown 16,000 cap arena show, like if Bring Me's playing there, their screens are like 5 times bigger than us. Yeah. So it takes 5 times longer to put them in. Sure. So like an 8 a.m. start would be like pretty normal for the company. But yeah, we got in at 7. We had until 12 to get everything in place for the floor. Not necessarily working, but it had to be clear so that we could start bringing the public in, because all of the sort of cherry pickers and forklifts and stuff like that needed to be taken off the floor to bring people in. So we had 20 people. We had 20 people working registration and carrying cases. So the drummers had help getting their stuff in. We had a 3-hour window for that. And then we brought in the guitarists, the bass players, the keyboards, the singers got in at 4 o'clock. And it was just a case of a lot of registration staff ticking off names, giving people wristbands, helping carry.
And these all volunteers, yeah?
Yeah, everyone volunteered.
Okay. And that's bring in drummers were in first, right?
Drummers were set up first, and they were set up in very, very straight lines.
Yeah, so did it go as smooth as you expected it to go? Because I would have thought we've setting up 200 drummers.
No, there was like 150.
Okay, but setting up 150 drummers, I would have thought a bit of a fucking mess. But it went pretty smooth, didn't it?
It went really smooth. There was absolutely sort of no hiccups. And this is where it's...
And they're all in straight line, aren't they? Is it back to back?
Back to back, 4 lines.
Right.
Facing out to the sides.
Right.
And yeah, this is just where you have to have incredible...
Obviously, all bringing their own kits.
Yeah. Yep. All their own kit. There was like... You were only allowed certain things so that we knew what their floor plan... the floor space was going to be.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just down to having really brilliant people working, because having...
The volunteers.
The volunteers were fantastic at getting everything in. The people that we had running the stage and running the floor, the actual techs,
right.
They were absolute top class. The best that you can get. And that's what made the difference with it running smooth on the day, because they just were absolute experts. They knew what they were doing. Like for them, it was a different show to normal, but it wasn't anything that they'd sort of not encountered before. Obviously more musicians than normal, but they were just brilliant, and they're the reason it sort of ran so smooth.
And how did it work with I think I know the answer anyway, but for other people, guitarists and amps?
That was one of the only sort of drawbacks of the day, was we had to do everything with battery power.
Right.
So we couldn't put guitar amps on the floor, proper ones, because we couldn't have 1,000 plug sockets on the floor.
Yeah, for sure.
So everything had to be battery powered. But Black Star did us a really fantastic deal to provide battery amps at cost. So people that didn't have battery amps could get them really cheap.
Did a lot of people take that offer up?
We had, I don't know, maybe 150 out of the 350 that did it got an amp from us.
Cool.
So we didn't make any money on that, but
yeah.
It was a way of facilitating people.
It's the only way that could have worked.
Yeah, because, where we were saying there's a £20 barrier to entry, not if you have to buy expensive equipment.
Yeah.
So the amps run out, I think it was 28 quid.
Right.
And that, for someone getting an amp, you can't buy one that cheap.
Yeah.
So it just meant, it was almost a bonus that it was like, oh, look, you can get something.
Did they know that before signing up?
Some did, some didn't. So it took us a while to get it confirmed.
Yeah.
But
they knew they'd have to, if not getting that, they'd have to supply their own battery powered amp.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was made very clear on absolutely everything. So
it's fine.
We told people to hold off if they didn't know what to get, because we were trying to sort out a deal. Yeah. We told them that we didn't know what that was going to look like or who it was going to be with, but we were speaking to people. We went through a few different manufacturers, and Black Star were the first one that were actually helpful. Yeah, everyone had to bring a battery up.
I guess I don't know much to do with like the logistics side of how that's going to sound, or I mean, like I just assume it's just sounds fucking terrible, to be honest with you.
The most stressful 45 seconds of the entire event for me was when they started sound checking, and it sounded good.
Yeah, it did sound good.
And genuinely, it sounded incredible, and my heart sank.
Yeah,
and I couldn't in those few seconds reconcile.
So did you think it was going to sound?
I thought it was going to sound fucking awful.
Yeah,
which everyone sounded like. Everyone agreed it's going to sound fucking awful.
Yeah, but like the idea was always to film it and mix it, and it'll sound a lot better on that.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone expected it to sound good on the floor.
No. So we had Mike Exeter recording it and producing it, and Mike's the guy that does all of the live stuff for Black Sabbath and just generally everything for Tony Iommi. He did a lot of the stuff at the Commonwealth Games. So we knew that we couldn't get anyone better for recording the live events. He's brilliant. So we knew that whatever he did was going to sound great afterwards. We thought it was going to suck on the day. We thought it was going to be 100 drummers playing at a time,
yep,
and 100 guitarists playing out of tune. And instead, we had 1,000 people that took it incredibly seriously.
I mean, I guess when you've got the pressure of
job,
all the other people next to you,
yeah,
you're going to do a good job.
And we thought that was going to make it worse. Nobody went off topic. Like no one went off script. Like everyone did exactly what they were asked, exactly when they were asked. Like we couldn't have asked.
When it all happened, I went to the back. I went to the stalls, and I was like directly at the back, looking kind of straight through the middle, which all the drummers were at, and they were all in time, and it did look pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was amazing. We couldn't have hoped for a better 1,000 people because nobody took the piss. Nobody tried to show off. And it's a lot of those people's first times. Yeah, actually playing to a room full of people. That's crazy. They all took it really seriously, and they all we made a big point of being like, if you're the dickhead that's not playing the same thing as everyone else, then you're letting everyone else down.
Yeah, which sounds maybe like you're being mean, but this is costing a lot of money. It's a lot of time. Yeah, a lot of planning. Just fucking
don't ruin everyone else's experience.
Just don't try and show off, and because you just look like a twat.
Yeah, and no one did.
Yeah.
So, that was shocking. And then just the overall sound was awesome. It sounded incredible. I mean, we got lucky that Spencer brought a load more PA that he didn't charge us for. So he basically, we got another truck. We'd originally got 2 trucks, and we got a third truck because SJ, who was putting in all the lights, offered to bring in more equipment again for free that he didn't charge us for. So Spencer then, because they were able to share the truck, was just like, okay, anything I've got left in the warehouse, I'm just going to bring. The more PA I can put in, the more I will.
Yeah.
And which was fantastic, because obviously we didn't get charged. But the extra PA, I think, made a big difference, and it sounded mega.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone agreed, it sounded really good.
There was definitely a minute where I was just like, fuck, what is going wrong?
You didn't really have any problems, did you? No, just literally went all smooth. Yeah. Was there any moment where something happened and you were like, okay?
It was pretty much perfect.
I mean, even the finish, the clear up at the end, was all done by, was it 12? No, it was less than that, wasn't it? 11:30 or something?
Left the venue by 12.
Which I think the event finished at 9:30. Or...
Yeah. The event finished at 9:30.
Everyone was off the floor.
The arena floor was cleared within 30 minutes.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah. So that's every single player had packed up and left.
Yeah. I mean, that's
30 minutes, which was incredible. And again, that's those people being fucking awesome, because packing up your drum kit.
And you also had volunteers helping to bring out gear and stuff, didn't you? Yeah. So there's a lot of people that got involved that did it for nothing and really helped out.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long day for people working for free.
Like me.
Like you. Who at the end of the night was in a very bad mood.
I was in a bad mood. But it's because we had to go back. I had to stay from the whatever it's fucking called, the utility arena.
Yeah.
And we had to go and load the van back here.
So we had our own.
Nobody told me this.
Okay, so for context, we're not talking about one of the trucks. We had our own long wheelbase van that was completely full to the brink. It was packed. And we left at about 12:30. came back to here, the studios, and then sort of pack everything.
And I got there at 7 a.m. So at 7 a.m. I got there, and then at the end of the night, they're like, "Oh, you don't mind coming back and unloading the van?" And then I had to take my dad in the morning to drop off the van.
Yeah,
I was told none of these things.
And
so next time, fucking pay me.
And me,
Buy me some cookies.
me and our dad was very supportive, and we followed him around the studios making baby sounds.
So I want some cookies. But yeah, so pretty crazy. The event went smooth.
Like, the only thing actually, and Sean's gonna fucking kill me for calling him out, but the only thing that didn't go, it did end up going to plan.
Actually, was a funny moment.
It was a funny moment. He announced the last song of the night, two songs before it was the last song of the night. So I was at the back of the room at this point watching, so I'd moved around the room trying to see it from different places. I'd give him cue cards, and one of the cue cards had just like stuck to the back of the other one. So he pulled out his cue card and it was like, "Oh, this is the last song."
Yeah.
So he announced it being the last song, and I at the back of the room was just like, "No, it's not! No, it's not!" No one could hear me.
Yeah.
So I was just running down the arena.
You're the only person that had that, had the timing or whatever. Was there no one else on stage? But
Adrian was on stage, but was behind all the sound equipment, so he couldn't he could hear it. He couldn't jump out to stop him.
Oh, okay.
From where he was. So in the 15 seconds that I had sprinted full health down the room screaming, I ran up onto the stage, turned to Adrian. Adrian was just like, "Tell him." I jumped out over the riser to grab him and be like, "It's not the last song." And as I did that, I looked up and saw the whole room holding their phones up. And I just froze because I was like, I turned back to Adrian and was just like, "That looks amazing." And Adrian was just like, "Just fucking tell him."
So it was the end was one more light, wasn't it?
Yeah.
By Linkin Park. And obviously the idea was the whole room goes black and you put your torch, your phone torches on.
Yeah.
And people started to do that.
People started to do that. Sean realised,
Sean was like, "Oh, actually, turn them off."
Turn them off. That was practice. Yeah. We've got 2 more songs.
That was fine.
So they played those 2 songs. I stayed on stage then for the rest of it. And the Linkin Park experience were
incredible. Yeah.
They were fucking amazing, man.
I mean,
they were brilliant.
I've seen them quite a few times now because they play our venue quite a lot. We're actually playing on Friday. This will definitely go after Friday, so
yeah,
doesn't make much sense saying it. But I'm going to watch them again tomorrow, so it's tomorrow.
So,
but they sounded, to be honest, they sounded way better than I've ever heard them sound. And I think everyone was impressed.
Yeah, they sounded fantastic. They looked fantastic with everything that was going on. They worked really hard to any song that they didn't have a click track for, they created a click track. They worked with DMX to create.
So they were really involved before this.
They were the very first people that I approached.
Right.
I told them that it was happening.
Because I think you had a bit of an issue with people not promoting it or not wanting to put any effort in, right? Which I think some of the bands just shared it once or something, which, whatever. But to then have, a band like Linkin Park, actually put a bit of effort in and really try and make it special.
Yeah, they really went for it. And I mean, another little thing that no one knows, but one of the things that could have derailed the entire event, I don't know if you know this, is they were playing a festival the day before in Germany and were flying back for this on a Ryanair flight. If the flight had been delayed by 2 hours or the flight had been cancelled, then the whole event would have just fucked up, would have been called off. We tried to get an insurance and we couldn't even insure against the no-show because they said that it was the insurance companies. Everyone just was like, it's way too tight.
Yeah, because they really tied the event together, to be honest. Without that, it doesn't, there's not a lot going on.
So there was a terrifying possibility that if their flight was delayed, the entire thing would.
Which is pretty, flights are delayed all the fucking time.
Yeah. So Friday, Saturday, that was really heavily on my mind. And then on Saturday, they messaged me saying that they'd turned up to the festival. The rain had been so bad.
Yeah, I remember them saying
that it got.
They didn't even play, did they?
No, they didn't play. They drove back. Yeah. And that was that for me was fantastic because it meant they were actually in the country and they were going to definitely be there.
I mean, to be fair, it's a great thing for them because I mean, I want to say there's 4,000 plus people then in the room, 4,500, something like that.
There's 4,500 in the room.
Yeah, which are all there for Linkin Park.
Linkin Park experience, just...
Yeah, sorry. What I mean is there's 4,500 people there for Linkin Park.
Mhm.
So you've got the Linkin Park experience playing to 4,500 people. That's a great marketing thing for them to just get new fans. And
Oh yeah, their average show is like 600.
yeah, I mean they do really well anyway.
Yeah.
They are killing it. But I just meant it's a great.
Yeah, they're like the perfect example of somebody being proposed a great opportunity and them taking full fucking advantage. And they worked with us to create the time codes so we could sync the videos to the screen. They were just brilliant, man. They Callum in particular came in, spent 2 or 3 days filming all the tutorials.
Oh right, I forgot about that. Yeah,
he did tutorials for every instrument. Sam the drummer came in and did them as well.
Yep.
They did all the sheet music. They created the tabs.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean they put in a lot of effort.
Huge amount of effort, man.
Yeah.
And
they've had a great reaction, haven't they?
Yeah.
But they sounded incredible. So
yeah. So they were brilliant. And then the last song happened, and yeah, we stood there on stage.
Okay, so the whole event was filmed, right?
Yeah, the whole thing was filmed. So Sigma cameras provided, I think, maybe 7 cinema cameras. We also had 3 cameras from DMX.
The idea is you're putting these on YouTube, which will be available at the end, right?
Yeah. So
it's not done yet because this podcast is pre-recorded, but
yeah, by the time that this podcast goes out, the videos will be out, and
you'll be able to watch this. You'll be able to watch the videos after this podcast. So you got the Linkin Park's management to actually whitelist it, right, or agree to whitelist it.
Yeah, so that was one of the coolest moments for me in the entire thing. So
what's that management company called?
I think it's called Silver Entertainment. It's Bill Silver's the manager,
cool.
And it's
what other bands does he have?
So
because it's a big deal, right? I mean, I know Linkin Park's massive.
Yeah, so yeah, Bill Silver's a really big deal.
Yeah.
But not just in management, so across music. So Linkin Park's the band he manages, but he also has a production company. He's a major promoter. He, for a long time, was the exclusive
Hollywood
promoter
Bowl.
at the Hollywood Bowl, and now he's got a contract where he does it with Live Nation. But yeah, so he's a massive, massive player in music, especially in the LA scene. And Craig Jennings, who's the manager of Bring Me the Horizon.
Raw Power.
Yep. Raw Power is the management company and in terms of our event, they manage Defects, they manage Mallory Knox, they manage Bullet for Valentine.
Which are all on stage.
Who were all on stage for us, yeah. Along with lots of others, they manage Bring Me Yumi at 6 and huge management company. But Craig Jennings, who's been a massive supporter of the charity and of the event right from the start, he did the intro with Bill Silver, spoke to him, vouched for us in the event.
I mean, that's a pretty surreal moment, right?
Yeah, incredible. He actually did me the intro with Bill, and Bill responded saying the event looks fantastic. I've shared it with Linkin Park,
and
the real Linkin Park.
He was really proactive, wasn't he?
Yeah,
very quick to.
Yeah, really quick to respond. Basically said that Linkin Park thought it looked like a great event,
awesome.
And that they'd whitelist it, which basically means that they're going to go to their publisher, which I think is Universal Music, and say that they want it. I think Warner owns the masters.
Right, okay. Anyway, go on.
So yeah, I think so people know there's 2 lots of rights. There's the master rights, which is the recording right, and there's a publishing rights, which is the intellectual property of the song. We didn't use any of their recordings because we were playing it live and recording it, so there's no master rights to clear, but there are publishing rights.
Yep.
Which I think is Universal. Might be wrong. But he basically said, we're going to go to the publisher, we're going to tell them that the band want it cleared, and that the charity can earn the royalties.
Yeah, so for YouTube, that means that the video can be monetized, which means the ads that are run on it, and the money goes to you.
Yeah.
For anyone who's uploaded anything to YouTube, if you have any type of music, it'll automatically get copyrighted by whoever owns the music. And any of those ads will ad money will run to them, but in this case, it's going to run to the charity.
Yeah,
and in theory, these will be big videos.
Hopefully, I mean the fact that the real life Linkin Park actually have said
signed off on it.
That's awesome, and they want the money to come to us is incredible.
Yeah.
So having their support is pretty fucking major, a surreal thing, given that this started off as an idea like 6 months ago.
So will it just be on YouTube, or did you say stuff about Spotify? And I don't really know how that works.
We've discussed it going out on different things. I mean, I guess by the time this podcast comes out, potentially it might have been released on other platforms. We're waiting.
Well, what's the are you allowed to do that?
So we can release any cover we want. Anyone can release a cover.
Right.
So we could record a cover of anything right now and put it up on
Spotify
and Apple Music and all of those things. Where it potentially could be difficult is we've got a lot of players on stage that have got record deals.
Right.
And they've got exclusive deals where it's their record company that puts out things that they're on.
I mean, that's some bollocks, that isn't it?
It's just how it works. But
no, but I mean, in this particular case,
I mean, the thing in this particular case is that it's the floor that's been recorded. Like, we do have all the stems from Linkin Park, but we're only taking a left-right mix from the stage. So when you hear these recordings, it's the floor players that you're listening to, not really the stage, with the exception of just the Linkin Park tribute band sort of leading it. So because none of the people on stage are really key people in any of the recordings, we should be okay. But yeah, we're just going to wait and see what the recordings actually come back like, how well the videos do, and we'll sort of take it from there as to whether we decide to try and release anything else.
Cool. I mean, you had a lot of people online want to not be able to attend the event. Like, a lot of people that aren't Birmingham based or even UK based that wanted to watch the event. I think you had a lot of people asking to live stream and stuff.
Yeah, so this
is a way to show them.
Yeah, we had a huge amount from America commenting saying that they wanted live streams, which we couldn't do, just because the amount of equipment it takes. They should all watch the YouTube. I mean, we actually had people coming from America to play. We had someone from Wisconsin. We had someone from Minnesota. I'm sure. I think we had someone from Jacksonville. So we had quite a few players that actually travelled from America for the show.
Crazy, man. So what was the main hurdle then for this event?
The main hurdle was the financial one.
Yeah, okay.
There was things that delayed us, like bands showing interest and then pulling out.
Yeah. Do you want to mention any of the ones that didn't show?
No, well,
it's probably not worth it. Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, the financial thing was the biggest difficulty, and that was the thing that put all the stress on it.
Yeah.
But obviously we got through that, so...
Cool. Will you do another one?
We'd like to do another one. There's a lot of ideas right now.
I mean, like, it's got to be a lot easier this time around because people are going to actually, well, you've actually done it, so people can reference that.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing that makes it easy is people understand what it is from a public side of point of view. Like, if we put it up saying it's next year's 1,000 Lights, they understand what that looks like. From an industry point of view, people trust us.
I mean, have you had anyone reach out from industry and stuff and just say, like, they want to get involved? Or
there's been nobody that's reached out with an idea. Every single player that took part on stage has messaged me,
wants to do it again,
saying that it was great and they did again. Like, the support from the people that actually there were on stage has been fantastic. And I've got some really lovely messages from the players on stage saying how much they enjoyed it and that they were up for doing it again. All the people we work with have sent me nice messages saying if we want to do it again, count them in. So there's a huge amount of trust now in the event, and I guess in me doing the next one. I don't want to do the same thing again.
Yep.
I think it was special because it was unique. So I think if we're going to do it again, we need to come up with a different angle. I would like to keep it Linkin Park centric because that's what the whole charity exists because of. But we'll really just look at options. I mean, I'd love to go bigger. I'd love to do Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
Which,
I mean, what's the capacity for Wembley?
Wembley Stadium, if we were to use the floor for everything and open the seats, is 40,000. So yeah, we're jumping from 4,000 tickets to 40,000 tickets. It's huge, and maybe it's not possible.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big thing that comes with that is the financing.
Is the finance. So
which you would not be able to just be like, oh, I'll bankroll it, or I'll take the risk. Like, you're talking upwards of like $1 million, I'd imagine. So
I think ballparking the figures, I think I'd need to raise 1.5 million.
And would that look like an investor?
At this point, it wouldn't be an investor in the traditional sense, because if they're putting money into the charity, they're not going to take a dividend at the end.
Well, maybe an investor for the event, right?
Potentially. I don't want an investor on the event because then the profit is going to go to them and not to the charity. But we would need to a percentage, but we don't have any money ourselves to put in.
No, but this is what I'm getting at. If the difference between making the event happen or not making the event happen, an investor would make sense, right? And obviously the other thing is if there was a profit, that still benefits the charity. I know what you're getting at, but
it still benefits it. But if they have to put in 1.5 million, then they're going to take
a substantial
amount. Yep. And what's the point if the charity's not taking the money?
Well, yeah, but if it's making money that originally wasn't there,
it just depends how much.
Yeah, I know
that is, sure. But it's definitely not the way that works.
Yeah, it's not the idea. Yeah, it's not the way you want to do it.
So we would be looking.
So what, a crowdfunding?
Crowdfunding would create a certain element.
Yeah,
probably not very much.
Yeah,
but we'd definitely be looking at it for some of it. We would be looking for corporate
sponsors.
So sponsorship would make up, again, not a hugely significant amount.
But how much do you think you'd be able to get? Like, how confident are you that you'd actually get those sponsors?
At this,
judging by the fact that this time, you didn't get any.
We didn't get any, so that's something to.
Because in theory, we'd say it's Wembley. We'd say whatever amount of tickets. In theory, it's quite simple. But you'd also say in theory, doing the utility arena would have also provided some sponsorship. So
I mean, that's something that needs to be considered, and obviously it's not going to be the same with me trying to go after sponsors. Like, we did use a sponsorship company this time. Obviously that didn't work out, so waste of money. But we'd go to a different sponsorship company next time, and we'd go to people that are experienced.
But are you confident that, like, you could secure?
I think we'd raise a couple 100,000.
Okay.
I wouldn't be looking for a backer in terms of like an investment backer. I would be looking for somebody or something that could secure a loan. I think the cheapest option, potentially, I might be wrong, would be to take out a loan and have someone secure it. Obviously, that would have to take somebody with significant finance behind them to do that.
Yep.
But I don't think it's unrealistic. And I don't think it's unrealistic at that scale to have somebody that can do that.
Yeah.
Now we've got a sort of background for us to base it on. But it's a huge thing. It's a huge undertaking. It would take a lot more people involved.
Would you be looking at, in terms of having people on the stage, like, how does that look?
We're really just not sure.
Okay.
So potentially we could look at centering it around a band. Could be that we do the same thing again and we have like an all-star lineup. It depends how we approach doing the songs, really. So like there's too many options at the moment that we go backwards and forwards and discussing. So there's nothing that really like takes the centre thing. I mean, we're also looking at just other events at the Utilita. It was a great night. There's the potential to make it bigger. So we're not in any capacity rolling that out.
But you definitely want to do another one.
I want to do another one. I want it to be bigger. I want it to be better in terms of like delivering sort of more to the people that attend. There could be the option of doing multiple nights. We could do one in Birmingham and one somewhere else. That's an option. So at the moment, like, we just weighing up everything.
Cool. But you've got nothing set.
There's nothing set, but there's a lot of ideas that have been passed around.
Cool. And I mean, does it start now, or when do you start actually planning this? Or are you just going to wait until a couple months before again?
I'm just going to wait and then...
Yeah, fair enough.
Sort of. So, I mean, as it stands, it's back to being like a one-man band. I've been doing it on my own.
Yep.
And just so people know, like, I'm not getting paid for this.
Yeah, it's important actually to point out that, like, this is for charity.
Yeah.
You aren't taking any money from this.
I've not received a penny for working on it, for working the day, for any of the planning.
Yep.
Like, literally nothing. And I don't want to take the money that we've raised and use it to pay event staff.
Yep.
Like, I want the money to go onto counselling.
Yep.
So really the plan is that we're probably a week at this point of me sitting here right now away from it being complete in terms of this event, like the recording being done, the video being done.
Right, is that officially, once you've got the video back?
Yeah, and like I'm still getting invoices coming in that paying, and I'm doing sort of wrap up messages.
Yeah.
So by the time this podcast comes out, we should be within a day or two of the everything. We just sort of drawing a line under it and saying that's over.
Yep.
We don't talk about it anymore. We don't look at it anymore. There's no more work to be done. And once we draw that line, that's when I'll start planning and asking people about next year.
Yep.
But
focus on the podcast.
then it's time to actually put some work into this. And actually, I think we should point out for people watching this that you are the producer of this podcast. So I sit here and do the interviews, but Joe actually is the guy that's booking the interviews and
all the cringy thumbnails and
all
titles that you see.
Yeah, that's
works. So again, the views.
Yeah, they're going
It's
up.
doing all right.
So yeah, I'll go back to doing these podcasts, working on the working on the club, working on the charity, and coming up with ideas.
I mean, do you feel that you can work on all those things at the same time?
It's difficult,
but you can do it.
Time-wise, it's a lot more than a full-time job.
Yep.
But I enjoy all of it, so it doesn't matter. If each of these things weren't fun, then there's no way I'd be able to do it, because we're looking at like 60, 70, sometimes 80-hour weeks. But because I enjoy all of it, it's
what
easy
running
to-
your own business looks like, isn't it?
Everyone thinks that like if you're in your own business, you can just take time off. It's the opposite. You're going to work longer hours than everyone else, and you're probably going to get paid less than everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, on an hour by hour thing, I'm the lowest paid member of staff that I have, but I enjoy it, so it doesn't matter. But
Yeah, that's what you
in terms of planning the next one, I'll be doing that on my own for the next 4 or 5 months. Once there's a very solid plan in place, and there's a very
What kind of time period would you be looking at again? The same?
No
August?
idea.
No idea.
No idea. It completely depends on who agrees to things,
True.
when things are available, when bands are available. And I'll just sort of take it from there. And once that's in place and I've got a sort of financial plan, then I'll look to put a team into place. And I will be putting more of a team into place this time much earlier,
Yep.
because it would be completely unrealistic for me to do it in the same way that I did before. Yeah, and it'd be any bigger. Like, we just got away with it.
Do you think this time around getting 1,000 musicians would be a lot easier?
I think so, because we have 1,000 people that have done it and loved it.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Like,
I think it should, in theory, be quite easy.
I'd be really shocked if every single person that did it this time didn't want to do it again.
Oh, yeah. You just know it's going to be
Are we going to be back to me having 158 people?
20 people. Yeah, cool. I think that pretty much wraps it up then. Is there anything else you wanted to say about the night, or do you want to give special thanks to anyone?
I guess we should just thank the people that really made it happen, because people keep asking me if I'm proud, and I'm starting to sort of feel proud for it, but like, I haven't really. People on the day kept being like, "You must be so proud." I didn't feel proud. Like, didn't feel any pride in it.
Yeah, but I mean, that
I
makes
just-
sense, because you're just so focused on
Yeah.
having that happen.
But even the next few days, like, I didn't really feel proud of what I'd done. I was just like,
Yeah, but you've also been stressed for, for 6 months. So, you need a bit of time to unwind.
to unwind and to process it. But like, I was just unbelievably grateful to the people on the day that made it work, because it wasn't me on the day that made it good.
Yeah.
Like, the reason it sounded great was Spencer and his team. Like, I was nothing to do with it being such a success with the sound. Like, the lights, it looked incredible because of SJ and his team. Adrian made the whole thing like run to the minute. Like, Jade Aldridge and Stokes got everyone in. Like, there was so many people on the day. I don't know what I did on the day.
Yeah,
Like, I know
that.
that I did 32,000 steps. I didn't sit down. Like,
Oh, actually, that's a lie. I did 35 steps. I was doing the, what was I doing? I was loading the, what do you call them? On stage.
the rises.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
so like 15 minutes to the start, 15 minutes to the end.
You know what? Genuinely, that is true.
But
Do you remember when you came over with all the high visors to give people to
yeah, and
start?
you turned around and
Me
walked in the
Ellie-
opposite
Me
direction.
and Ellie walked up.
Yeah, you brick. Richie, our other brother, came
Yeah, Rich,
straight over and
Richie
helped.
did a lot.
Yeah,
Richie actually spent the whole day non-stop doing stuff.
Yeah, Richie was great.
Yeah.
Just you that was fucking lazy shit. But yeah, on the day, I don't even know what I did. I know that my radio went off like every 2 minutes, that my phone rang every 2 minutes,
Yeah.
that I didn't stop, but I actually couldn't even tell you what I was doing. I was just answering questions and, I don't know, asking other people to do stuff. And so, yeah, I think really the thanks just needs to be to Adrian for making it run properly.
Yep.
22 Live for putting in the sound and doing such a ridiculous deal.
And
Like,
that's the utility arena.
no, 22 Live is the PA company that put in the sound equipment, put in the speakers,
Right.
put in the sound desk. They were the guys the sound engineers that did it. And
Just because you said you did a great deal, which they also did a good deal.
Yeah,
didn't they? The arena.
literally. So the arena gave us over half price. DMX did us a great deal on all the lights, and 22 Live did us again, sort of half price at least on the PA, and just putting loads of stuff that we didn't pay for. So it's a massive thank you to them. It's a massive thank you to Jade Aldridge and Stokes for running the door, getting all the volunteers in. Obviously, there were a lot of volunteers on the day. I didn't even get to talk to them all. Liam and his mum worked crazy hard. Like, yeah, I mean, Liam helped out with lots of different things. His mum completely took over the merch. Like, I didn't have to go over to the merch stand once.
Yep.
Like, so all those people working so hard for us is why it worked really well. I'll tell you what I am proud of. And this was like the coolest thing ever to me. But like, I think it was yesterday or the day before, Craig Jennings, so the owner of Raw Power Management, who has Bring Me and Yumi at 6 and all those, he sent me flowers and a card saying well done.
Oh, nice.
And that genuinely, I'm proud of that, guys. I would literally be keeping that like as my thing from the night. But yeah, I think I'm just grateful to everyone else for doing it. So
Cool.
But, and also, you know, next year they're all going to come back and they've all offered to, which is wicked.
Awesome. Cool. Anything else you want to say before we finish it?
I think the last thing is just please watch the videos. We'll link both of them in this description. I think there actually might be 3 because there's one for none, one for in the end, and one for one more light. So please share them any way you can. Watch them on repeat because hopefully we'll get a ton of views and we'll be able to monetize them.
Cool. And also check out the podcast, subscribe, go to Spotify and follow. Julie Weir's a really good one to start off with, and then probably Jamie Osman, just one of my favourites. We've got some more guests coming on pretty soon. They're really good. I won't say their names or whatever, but they should be really good. So check it out.
Please follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts.
Cool. Bye.